Blog Talk Radio.
I'm lost. You are about to enter the world of Paranormal Concepts on the Paranormal Concepts Radio Network with your award-winning host, Evan Jensen, and his co-host, baby, is Charity Oswald. Sit back, enjoy. Let's get our paranormal on.
Welcome. I'm Charity Oswald. This is Paranormal Concepts Radio Network. Evan Jensen is here live in the studio. This is episode 1. Our guest tonight is James Hershey, Jr. Welcome, James. Let's get our paranormal on.
Thank you. Good.
All right, let's get our paranormal on. Yeah, welcome to the show, James. It's a pleasure having you on Paranormal Concepts. This is episode 1, and like Charity says, and the announcement, let's get our paranormal on. So I'm gonna kind of let Charity ask some questions right off the bat and get this show a hopping here. Charity, back to you, please.
Oh, great. Well, James, I was wondering, I think everybody would be interested a little bit in how everything started for you, where the concepts came up for the books.
Every book I write comes directly from my dreams. Ever since I was a little bitty kid, I've been having these nightmares every single night. And the way it works is I get a different scene from a particular book each night. And they're like in all jumbled up order. And I know that the story is finished because the dreams start repeating themselves. So what I do is I write them all down in a spiral notebook. And then when they start repeating themselves, I try to put them in some kind of order. And then I pull my laptop out, and I just let it flow. The only thing I really have is a bare bones outline of the story from my dreams, and I just let it fill itself in as it goes. I've never done an outline. I've never planned out a story. And it's kind of cool because I experience my novels the same way my readers experience them. And what I mean by that is when there's like a shocking twist that happens or something crazy that you don't see coming happens and the reader is shocked, I'm shocked right alongside them because I didn't know it was going to happen either. So it's kind of a fun and cool way to get to experience my own novels in the same way that my readers do.
So when you have these dreams, you just start jotting them down pretty much exactly how everybody's able to read them then?
For the most part, yeah. What happens is I keep my notebook by my bed in a box. And when I wake up, first thing I do is I reach for it and I write down what I dreamt. Because if I don't, I have a tendency to forget. So I write everything down, and then it'll be different scenes that are in it, but more stuff gets filled in as I write it that I didn't dream. Does that make sense? It just kind of fleshes itself out as I write it. And I don't plan it out. I don't think, okay, what would be a cool thing to do here? Maybe I'll have them do this. It's just I just go in with a blank mind, and I just start typing, and whatever comes out, comes out. And when I do my editing at the end of my novel, it's really only to correct spelling errors and punctuation and that kind of thing. I don't really change anything in the story. The story writes itself how it wants to write itself, and I don't mess with it too much.
So now
you've written a book. Sorry. You've written a book. Okay, thanks. You've written a book called Legion. Can you share a little bit about how that book came about and a little bit about what Legion is about?
Okay.
With us.
Legion, I Am Legion was based on a set of nightmares that I had that is one of the longest set of nightmares I've ever had, because it spans over more than just one book. And it took up about 5 years of my life, these nightmares did, before the story was completed. And basically what it is, Legion is the legion from the Bible that Jesus cast over the cliff and into the pigs. And the concept is that Legion survived that and just kind of was laying low on Earth and building his strength back up. The two main characters of the novel is a woman named Darian a woman named Heather and a man named Darian, who are husband and wife, and they are serial killers. And what they basically do is they go to different towns and they grab women out of parking lots, secluded places, and they torture them and then chop them up, and they take them back to their hometown where they have a restaurant, and they grind them up in a burger to serve in their restaurant to get rid of the bodies. Legion comes across these two, and he wants to possess Heather, the woman. He's really desperate to possess her. And so that's basically what the novel is they're running across the country trying to get away from this demon, because no matter what they do, they just can't stop him. Because, how are you really going to stop a demon? And so that's the first novel, I Am Legion, is them trying to escape him.
Yeah, and it's really realistic, isn't it? When you're talking about legions or demons, how the seriousness. I don't believe you can really stop a demon. What are you going to do, James? Are you going to cast it back to hell where it belongs, and it says thank you, and it comes back and tears you a new ass? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's pretty realistic, because you're talking about how this demon wants to possess Heather, and it wants to destroy and ruin the souls of mankind. Isn't that how the demonic is played out in history and scrolls and writing and ancient history? So it's pretty realistic to the novel, that you're speaking of.
And really, what's scarier than that, if you really think about it, because you're dealing with a force here that you're really powerless to stop. You can't shoot him, you can't stab him, you can't beat the hell out of him. No matter what you do, this thing's going to keep coming. And so you're looking at a pair here in Heather and Darian that are no joke. These people are not wimpy little people. These are badasses. These are serial killers. They are scary, scary people. And they're running for their lives from this demon.
And you would think that, being as evil as they are, that they would have no problems dealing with another evil force. But even for them, being as evil as they are, they're having problems with the demon. And that's a very, interesting concept. Charlie, doesn't that just sound amazing? You're talking about an evil group of people that is being plagued by even something more evil than they are, and that I find very fascinating.
That's what I think is so great about this book. It sets itself aside from a lot of the traditional ones where you know what the endings are and it's always the same. And to me, this is more historically, accurate.
Yeah, exactly. So back to you, James.
The cool thing about it is Heather and Darian, okay, like I said, they're badasses. But if you want to put it in a way that you can understand, human-wise, it's like saying, okay, these two kids are the baddest fourth graders there are. But then Mike Tyson comes up, and all of a sudden these bad little fourth graders ain't so bad anymore. And that's kind of the same equivalency that you have to look at it here, because with Legion, he's not only a demon, he's like a super demon. And even a regular demon would make any human being look like nothing. You know what I mean? There's really nothing we could do. Now there's people out there that that can exorcise demons supposedly and all this kind of stuff. And if they can, and if that's real, then hey, all power to them, man. Those are the kind of people I want in my corner if one ever comes after me. But me personally, if something like that ever happened to me, I would just take off.
Yeah, get out of Dodge. Yeah, I can understand that. You'll be like Zach Higgins. You see that? I'm out of here. Yeah, I don't blame you. You gotta wonder sometimes when people stand up and they say, "Hey, I saw the demon. I met him face to face, and I kicked that demon's rear." And you gotta look and laugh and kind of chuckle yourself and say, "Okay, if you say so, I believe you." What people don't understand is, and I think you've talked about this before, but demons have their own legions. Demons don't come alone. They have their armies, and under them is another army, and it goes on and on and on. It's not just one little evil force. You're dealing with supernatural powers that you have no inclination on how to handle or can. If I met a demon, I think. Well, first of all, you may not be alive to talk about it. You may not be, or you might be in some mental institution. I mean, I've heard of many cases where people are actually, locked up in mental institutions today. Look at the movie The Devil Inside Me. The woman's still inside a mental institution to this very day because of what is believed she's, underwent.
And I can understand why.
Yeah, you're dealing with a force that's just incredible. Pretty serious stuff, But yeah, back to you. Please share more. I mean, the book is fascinating, the concept, and now these dreams that come to you, James. How long have you had them? I mean, is it since you were like old enough to remember, or something that happened recently, or was there something tragic in your life that brought these on, or what do you think is led up to having these type of, I guess it'd be called precognitive dreams?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've had them. I don't know if I've had them my entire life because I don't remember when I was very, very young. But as long as I can remember, I have them. Now, where they come from or why I have them, I really have no idea. I don't claim to be psychic or have any kind of paranormal powers. All I am is a storyteller. These things come to me, and I just write them down and just make them into novels. I mean, I can't tell you what the lottery numbers are going to be tomorrow. I have no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl. I don't have any kind of special powers of any kind. Every night I get these dreams. And for the longest time, I did nothing about them. And I saw an article in, I don't know if it was Scientific American or one of those kind of magazines that was talking about dream journals, and that you can take dream journals and you can kind of discern the meaning of your dreams. And I thought, that's a really cool thing, man. I have these crazy dreams. Maybe I'll try writing them down. So that's when I started writing them down probably about a decade ago. And I would write them down when I would have them. And the funny thing is, like I said, the dreams will start repeating themselves after the whole story has been told. And they just kind of keep going in a loop. That's how Legion was for a long time. It just kept going in a loop. And I found out that when I wrote them down in my journal, which, like I said, is just a spiral notebook, but it sounds better to say dream journal, I guess. But when I wrote them down, they stopped. And then a new set of dreams came. So then I would write those down as they came. And then it just kept different stories. I have probably about 30 novels worth of stories already written down in my notebooks that I just have to form into novels. Yeah.
Charlie, did you want to share a little bit? I know you had some questions, pertaining to James and the Legion novel.
Well, one thing I was wondering, it seems like a good time to ask this is, what have you, if anything, did you try to do anything to stop these nightmares, before you decided that you might be able to create, an awesome book or sequence of books in regards to them? Was there anything that you tried to stop them at any point? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
My grandmother, when I used to go stay the night with her, would have me put a Bible underneath my pillow when I went to bed at night. and she told me that would make the dream stop and make the scary things go away. And, I mean, it never worked. I mean, I still got the dreams every night just like I always did. She meant well, so I would tell her, yeah, it's working great, you know, I'm good. But nothing's ever really stopped them. I don't really believe in going to psychiatrists or anything like that, and I don't take medicines. Like, I barely even take ibuprofen if I have a headache. I just don't like pills. I don't take any of that kind of stuff. So I don't know what I could really do to make them stop. They just always come, and they always have. For me, it's almost part of my life. Because, see, I've had readers ask me before, doesn't that scare the hell out of you? I mean, that would be horrible, I think, to dream the kind of stuff that's in your novels every night. But for me, it's just what it's always been. That's the way my life is. It's like when you have a bad tooth, and you know how you always play with that bad tooth with your tongue, and it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts. And then you go and get your tooth taken care of, and all of a sudden it doesn't hurt anymore. And you almost miss that hurt. You start probing the hole with your tongue, trying to make it hurt again, just because you're so used to that pain. That's all you've known for so long that it feels weird to not be in pain anymore. I think that's the way it would be if I didn't have these dreams.
That makes a lot of sense. And so basically what you're saying is that almost every night sometimes you'll end up having them.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
incredible.
much.
And you've just gotten used to it. That's amazing. Is there anything that you've never really wanted to stop them since you were a child then, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not necessarily that I haven't wanted to stop them, because some of them are really horrifying. I mean, if anybody's ever read my work, it's not for kids. I mean, it's scary. It's really scary stuff, and I see it every night, just about. It's not that I don't ever want to stop them. It's just I'm almost afraid to stop them, because whatever reason it is that I have these dreams, at least when they come to me when I'm in my dreams, you know, when I'm asleep, it's kind of controlled and I'm safe and I can wake up. And even though I'm scared when I wake up, because, you know, that little tiny bit of time when you wake up and you're not sure if what you were just seeing is real or if you were dreaming, magnify that by 1,000, and that's what I feel like sometimes when I wake up. Sometimes it's really scary. But I'm almost afraid to not have the dreams, because at least that way it's controlled and safe for me. And if the dreams didn't come, then I don't know how this stuff would come about. I don't know if it would come a different way. You know, I just don't know, because I don't even know what it is that causes them.
That's actually what I was going to ask you next, if that was part of what you were saying in the beginning about almost not wanting to stop them, because from what I've read so far, some of these are really darn horrifying. So I was wondering how you were able to cope with that, but that makes sense, because you don't know how else they would come through, because they are coming for whatever reason.
And they are hard to cope with sometimes. I mean, there's times that I wake up and I'm just drenched in sweat and I'm scared to death, because I don't know for sure if it was a dream or if I was actually in that reality, because my dreams are so vivid and so real. When I'm in a room with someone being tortured in my dreams, I can smell the blood. I can hear the screams. I can feel the screams in my bones. I mean, it's so vivid and it's so real. And when I wake up, I'm not always 100% sure if I'm still there, if that was real, what I was just dreaming, if that actually happened, or if I'm here in my bedroom where I'm safe. I mean, after a few seconds, you kind of realize where you are. But, yeah, it's a scary, scary thing to go through sometimes. And my second novel, called The Wind Spirits, that set of dreams was very, very, very difficult for me, because that novel is the fear of every parent of something happening to your child, someone taking your child, and you can't protect them anymore. You can't help them. And so some of the stuff in that novel, seeing it done to a child, was very hard to deal with, very hard. There was times when I was writing that novel that I literally had to stop writing because I was crying so hard at just the horrible things that was happening to this kid that I just couldn't even see the screen anymore. So I just kind of had to put it away for 5 or 10 minutes and just get myself together before I could go back to it. So, yeah, it takes an emotional toll on me sometimes.
Do you think, James, that Do you think, James, that some of these dreams you're having are actual real-life events that are coming to you for whatever reason in your sleep?
I really hope not. I really hope they're just some kind of story that my subconscious is creating, and it's just very creative. I hope to God that this stuff isn't real and it's not actually happening, because some of the stuff that I dream is just beyond terrible and beyond scary. If it's actually happening to somebody, then God have mercy on those people, because it's bad.
Yeah. You know, I can remember having a dream about a month ago. It was a pretty weird dream. I don't usually dream these types of dreams, but I actually had a dream where I was running from the devil, and that's all I did. I just kept running from the devil. He'd get close, and I'd speed up, and he'd get close. And I mean, that's a silly dream, but I woke up, and I was all sweaty, and I opened my eyes, you know, and I'm like, shit, that sucked, running from the devil. And I said a couple prayers to myself. I'm like, gosh, I mean, that sucks. People will think it's funny when you tell them, you know, but I'm like, you try dreaming that. Dream that you have a dream similar to that you're running from some evil entity or some, you know, and I know that what you're doing, you know, and there could be certain causes of these types of dreams. One is, you know, be careful what you eat before you go to bed. Be careful about, you know, what you've just watched. Did you watch a horror flick or something? There's some certain things you can do. But then there's things, you know, you could have just watched, something very spiritual or religious or whatever, and still 3 hours later wake up and have a solid nightmare. And these things are just, you know, sometimes these dreams can get so realistic that it's like you were there in these dreams, and it can be very frightening. I mean, if you remember your dream over a period of, let's say, you know, a couple of days, it's still in your mind, then it made an impact on you. And I have a couple of these dreams myself that I've had, but not on a regular basis. And I think that's what sets, you know, the difference between what you're talking about with your type of dreams and your writing versus other people having different dreams from time to time, which is kind of a normal thing to happen to all of us.
I remember when I was young, people would talk about in school and stuff. They'd be like, "Oh, I had this great dream last night that I took this test and I passed it," or "I had this great dream that I got a new car," and all this kind of stuff. And I would always be so jealous, you know. I would envy those people so much that they were able to have a dream like that about something so nice and so pleasant and so happy. And here I am having these horrible dreams. But in a way, that's what makes my novels so amazing and so scary, is the goal of a horror author is to scare you. The goal of a horror author is to make you have nightmares. But my novels are my nightmares. I take my reader into my nightmare with me. They get to live it with me the way I lived it. They experience the nightmare just like I experienced the nightmare. So I think that's what makes them even scarier than a normal novel, is you're not just getting a good story that someone thought up. I mean, you're literally getting inside my brain and you're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing through my novels.
Yeah.
That's what I think sets you apart, too. You know, James, I think that sets you apart a lot, too, from like what Evan was saying. A lot of times it could be what you watch, what you eat, you know, all different things can contribute, you know, scientifically to your dream state. But you've been experiencing this since you were young. And I think that's what sets it apart for the readers that are reading it. This isn't something completely thought up and created, and, you know, this is something that you've had for a long time that you've kind of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but been able almost therapeutically to write about it so people can go through it with you, you know, and they're seeing something that, you know, that you, like you said, you slept with a Bible under your pillow.
And maybe the dream journals and maybe writing about this stuff, maybe that kept me sane. Maybe that's the reason why I'm not in an insane asylum right now. Maybe I should be. I mean, if you've read my work, you probably would you can make that argument that maybe I should be, you know, locked up somewhere in a padded room. But maybe that's the only thing that's keeping me from going nuts. Maybe that's how I'm coping with these dreams, is that I'm able to kind of channel them through my writing and just kind of relieve that pressure a little bit.
Yeah, I find that to be really incredible. When I was skimming through it, I haven't been able to read it completely, which is probably good because I don't want to spoil it. I know a lot of people, I had saw them say, you're not going to spoil the whole book, are you? Right, Evan? So. Yeah,
no, we won't do that. I don't want to put too much of a spoiler alert out there. I will tell you, though, that the other book, Call of the Wind Spirits, I believe, is what the name of the book is, right, James?
Yeah.
That book, I've noticed that the story within that book is very similar to some of these urban legends around, including some of the folklore in the Philippines. And I was kind of checking that out. I'm like, wow, this story is similar, very different though, but it reminded me of some of these really, and I love these old legends, like the story of the Aswang and the Aswang, or whatever you call it, in the Philippines. And but James, tell us a little bit more about that particular book, what inspired that book exactly, and some of the content. Don't go into details too much because we don't want to spoil it for your readers and for people that will want to buy the books to read your, the story there and so forth.
That book was kind of interesting because, like I said, the thing that sets that book apart is that you're dealing with a kid. I mean, the main character of that novel is a little 7-year-old girl named Rose Young. And basically she's taken from her bed at night to a cabin in the woods to be food for this immortal creature who's a wind spirit. And what they do is they feed on the life force of children when they sleep. And when those dreams came, they were very realistic, they were very vivid, and they scared the ever-loving hell out of me because I was dealing with a child instead of an adult. And it's more horrifying when a child has to go through these things. And then there's a whole other dynamic to this book that really hits you as a parent because you deal with the parents as well. The parents, you deal with their struggle and their desperation and their outright panic because they can't find their child and they don't know where their kid is. They can't help their kid. And so there's that whole side story as well of what they're going through and trying to get to their child. And then you have to answer the question of, you always hear everybody say, oh, I'd die for my kid, I'd die for my kid. Well, these parents, they have that choice, and they have to really ask themselves that question for real. Will they die for their child, or will they let their child die so that they can live? It deals with some really powerful issues. And the neat thing about that book was when I had those dreams, I had no idea what a wind spirit was. I didn't know about any of these urban legends or anything. I just, at the end of it, I was like, wow, that is a neat thing. That is crazy. So I decided after I wrote the book and published it and everything, I had people say, oh, yeah, this reminds me of this story of this particular thing. Or yeah, there's a creature that does this and all this. So I started doing a little research to see what they were talking about. And it kind of blew me away that these creatures actually do exist, at least in folklore and legend. And at the time when I wrote the book, I had no idea. I thought maybe that was just, something that I created in my head in my dream. But to find out that these creatures actually do exist, it makes it even scarier for me.
Well, according to folklore and stuff, what exactly does folklore say that these wind spirits exactly are? There's different versions depending on which culture you're looking at.
Sumerians have a version, the Philippines have a version, the Native Americans have a version, different tribes have different versions. Basically, if you put them all together, what it is it's a creature that's almost like a spirit. It's ethereal, and it feeds on the life force of children, okay? But it doesn't drain your child dead. What it does is it just takes a tiny bit. Takes it once, it's a tiny bit. So it doesn't really affect the lifespan of the child, but it's what sustains these creatures. Now, some legends say that if these creatures don't follow those rules and they do not just take a little bit, but instead they feed too much, that they'll actually become something completely different. And they will become earthbound and have a physical form and then they will just feed on children until they're stopped, basically.
Wow. Yeah, that's a scary thought. Do you think they're Native American based, these types of wind spirits, or?
I think. See, the funny thing about folklore and legends is that is that culture's history. I mean, we have history books that tell us what happened in 1776, what happened in 1492. A lot of cultures don't have the books that they wrote the stuff down in. Their stuff is passed down through oral tradition and through history in legends and folklore. So I think a lot of these legends, I think there's a basis of reality to a lot of these legends. I was explaining before about different creatures and how they might exist. If you look at like the silverback gorilla over in the Congo, that was supposedly a creature that did not exist. It was only part of folklore and legend until somebody found one. And now it's an actual animal that exists. I think there's a lot of things like that in this world that exist in folklore and legend and actually exist in real life as well, but we just don't recognize that it exists because we've never found it. You know, science hasn't proven it yet, so therefore it doesn't exist. But these cultures have been talking about these things for generation after generation.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Bigfoot legend. You know, when you're talking about Bigfoot and all that, you know, they haven't found him, but that doesn't mean he doesn't exist. I mean, you know, and I was telling you on the phone earlier about a few years ago we were up at this one spot, and it's Indian land, and there was a man that drowned in the river there, and hours later it was on, you know, Channel 2 News there, and they had found there's like 60 million year old woolly mammoth tusk that was in the river. It had been in there all that time. It was in fairly decent condition where they were able to bring it up. You know, and you wouldn't have thought that you would find something like that. And you know, I remember them talking about it, and you know, they hadn't found one like it yet, and you know, here it is, they find one. So yeah, there were a lot of urban legends about it and some folklore about it, and then they actually find one. You know, that was really amazing.
And Bigfoot's my favorite. I love Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot absolutely exists because there's so many people that have claimed to see it. I mean, even if you say, okay, 90% of the people that have said they've seen Bigfoot are just full of crap. 90% of the people are just completely out of their mind crazy. That still leaves 10%, and that's a lot of people when you look at the total numbers. And to think that the creature doesn't exist when there's fossil evidence of creatures that are like that, you know, I'm talking about like Gigantopithecus and stuff like that. I mean, they could very well exist, and we just have no idea.
Yeah.
Or we have an idea because people have seen it, and nobody believes it.
Yeah. Well, that's you know, that's how legends are formed. You know, people make reports, and it goes unnoted for a while or whatever, and then pretty soon it's back again, and other people have seen it, and you know, there's reasons for these type of reports and scrollings and writings and so forth. You know, we constantly are hearing about different things, different creatures being found, and you know, and so forth. Charity, what's your view on some of the things we just discussed? I don't want to always talk and exclude you. I'd like to hear, you know, what you have to say. So you've got the floor for a few.
Oh, thank you. No, I was just enjoying listening to you guys with that because I have an open mind in regards to what James was just saying, that, you know, when you want to discredit certain things, but how can you? Because we do find certain things like fossils, and then, you know, discovering that a alleged old folk tale, you know, they discover that it's actually an animal. And that's why with some of these books, when Evan, when you brought up in the beginning, you know, do you think that this might be happening or have happened somewhere? I find that really interesting because they do kind of match up with certain things, you know, like certain, you know, losing what I'm trying to say about not folk tales, but urban legends.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really frightening. But I wonder how many people also, you know, in a weird way, you might be bringing a little bit of a comfort to, you know, that have had some pretty bad, you know, I think pretty much all of us have had a nightmare or two at least, and can relate to that feeling of waking up in complete, you know, panic and trying to get back into this reality. Did that really just happen? So I bet there's a lot of people that might be, you know, reading your books, and I hope tonight are able to find some comfort in knowing that, you know, they're not alone.
Yeah.
Like you said, though, some of the stuff is so horrifying. I hope a lot of people don't have to go through it to the extent you do, because I think you're really courageous. I don't know how I would be able to deal with it on that kind of a level, you know, at all.
Yeah, and there's no shame to being scared. That's what I want to tell people. If you're having nightmares and they scare you, I mean, there's no shame to that, man. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. I teach self-defense on the side. I'm not somebody that gets scared easily. And these dreams scare the hell out of me.
I think I found a new bodyguard. Can I render your services, James?
For the right price.
I think I might need one. So, and that's why I wanted to bring you on your show. You're not afraid of anything. You're a pretty courageous man, and really enjoyed talking with you about, you know, your life's endeavors, your books, and you know, the things that are happening with you. And that's one of the reasons we started the show, Charity and I, Paranormal Concepts, to bring new concepts into what I believe is the paranormal. And so you were a perfect fit tonight, and, you know, we're just glad to have you on board tonight.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading that you have another book that you're coming out with.
Yeah, I'm writing the book 2 of the I Am Legion series. Originally, I was thinking it was going to be a trilogy. I'm not sure if I'm going to wrap it up in 3 or if I might go to 4. I mean, it's a pretty long storyline, so we'll have to see what happens. But book 2 will be out before the first of the year. I have not released the title of that yet. I think I'm going to release the title right now to all your listeners and my readers that are listening. The title is going to be The Surrogate of Souls. It's I Am Legion Book 2.
Wow, that's a powerful title. Gave me the chills.
And that'll be coming out pretty soon?
Yeah, it'll be out. I'm shooting for before Christmas, but depending on how long the editing process takes, it might be after Christmas, but it'll be before the end of the year.
Awesome. Hopefully before Christmas, and people can order that, you know, for Christmas and things like that. That's cool. Or the new year, you know, start out the new year with a new book. Very cool. I'm going to give a little bit of promo for a dear friend of mine also. Edwin F. Becker has written a book, he's written a lot of books, but there are 2 books I want to talk about real quickly, and I hope you'll read his books, True Haunting 1 and True Haunting 2. Awesome stories of what he endeavored in the paranormal, you know, growing up in Chicago. In 1971, it inspired the first real live televised exorcism on NBC TV. And again, you know, special shout out for Edwin Becker, who's kind of down in the dumps and feeling a little down these days. And we thought that we'd just say hello and give him a little shout out on the air. He's done a lot for this show. He made the intro. He's really helped me out in radio. He's kind of a mentor to me, and we always think positive thoughts for the Becker family. And, you know, with that, we hope that people will buy his books too, and go out there and read some fascinating stories and you know, enjoy, is what I always tell people. Enjoy your reading, and I think I'm going to be getting your 2 books here so I can read them fully, and that'll be a fun thing. That'll give me at least a week of some reading. I read pretty slow. I like to take my time and read a couple of chapters here and there, and you know, unfortunately that doesn't always work, and I end up reading the whole book right away. And you know, sometimes when I get involved in reading a book, I'll read the whole thing and say, wow, you know, I read the whole book straight. That happens a lot too. And from what I'm reading on your reviews, people are liking what you're writing. You've got good reviews on your books. And that's hard to get reviews. People don't like writing reviews these days. It's hard to get people to actually make kind reviews. One, it's a process to get online. It's a process to get in there to create an account on Amazon. And so when an author does have good ratings or reviews, it means they're doing something right. And that I saw right away about your books. So I just wanted to give you prompts on that. It is a lot of hard work, and we've always, on all my shows, we've always tried to endorse and support authors and their work. It takes a lot of time and patience in writing a book. I've tried to get mine written now for a long time, and something always derails me. It's just really hard to get dedicated and stay focused because there are so many things in today's life, your events, your daily activities, phone calls, messages, Facebook, the list goes on and on. So when you start writing, how do you keep from getting derailed? When you're into the story, do you just shut off on one side and say, okay, I'm going to write this today? Do you set goals or standards or points where you'll meet that and then say, okay, now I can rest a little bit and get back to it? Or what is your process on this?
I don't ever really have to worry about getting derailed because there's no track for me to follow. What I mean by that is I don't plan anything. I don't outline. I don't set a goal of, okay, I've got to do this much today or this much tomorrow. I just sit down at my laptop when I feel compelled that I have to write, and I just let it flow. And it flows until it's done flowing. Some days I will write for 4 or 5 hours. Some days I write all day and all through the night, and I don't get up to go to the bathroom. I don't stop for anything until I'm ready to stop, until I feel like I can't do it anymore. Because I don't make a conscious decision, okay, I'm going to write from 12 to 2 today. What happens is I just feel a compulsion that I have to write. I have to get to my keyboard. I have to type. I got to get going. And so then I sit down and I start writing, and it just kind of takes over, and I write for as long as I write. And I'm lucky because I'm married. I have a great wife, and she'll bring me sweet tea. She'll bring me food. She'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I don't wither away, like a dusty old skeleton. She makes sure that I'm okay. But I mean, there's times when I've written for 14, 16 hours straight, and I just can't stop.
Yeah, it's a long. I'm losing my voice here. You have to kind of bear with me. The weather here is affecting me too. And I know Charity's voice was kind of on the edge today, too. It's that seasonous joy where you start getting colds and you lose your voice and,
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to, the winter's just wonderful, isn't it? And again, I'm complaining about the winter. I shouldn't have to be. I mean, we've been pretty lucky so far this year. We had a few degrees that were less than 30-degree days Fahrenheit. And the rest has been up in the, mid to even mid-50s, from 40s to the mid-50s, and that's pretty good for winter time. So I guess I really can't complain too much. Whether people are, it was 19 below today. We had 6 inches of snow. I don't think I can handle that. No thanks. I'm happy with a little bit of rain here and there and some wind. That's our winter so far. That was weird. Anyway, back to you, Charlie. I'll let you, talk a little more with James here, and I'm going to kind of sit back idle here and let you do a little more here.
Oh, sure. James, I was going to just say also is that, the difference between you and Edwin Becker is an amazing author, and his books are very intriguing, but they're also kind of, complete opposite, in the horror spectrum of things, because yours are coming from, a series of dreams. And I think that's pretty incredible. But I wanted to just ask you one more time, because I don't know if I wrote it down correctly. What is the name of your next book again that you just announced?
Oh, it's going to be
everybody
The Surrogate.
Keep on the look for it.
The Surrogate of Souls.
The Surrogate of Souls.
Yeah, The Surrogate of Souls. It's I Am Legion Book 2.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to make sure that I had it down for you so we can let everybody know. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about how you came up with the name, or is that a little bit of a giveaway for what's inside?
The titles of my novels come the exact same way that the stories come. I don't name the novel all the way up until the time of release of the book, basically, when I'm making the cover and everything. It just, one day it'll just pop into my head that this is what the novel is going to be called, and I'll just be so sure this is exactly what it has to be called, so that's what it's called. I don't really put any, I know it sounds crazy because I should really think about these things more, but I don't ever really put any thought into it. I just let the story flow, I let the title flow, I let everything flow and just become what it's going to become.
Well, I think that's important, though. I think that's what kind of sets it aside and, will keep people more drawn to your work and coming back for more because it's so unscripted, that you just don't know what to expect.
And all of my
really
books are they're all really action-packed, and they're written at a frantic pace. And I don't just mean that, like I was saying, how I write for hours and hours and hours, but I mean the story itself is at a frantic pace. There's not a lot of bloviating. There's not a lot of sitting around waiting for something to happen. I mean, you feel when you're reading one of my novels like you are inside the nightmare, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to hit you from which angle. And it's so frantic, and it's so immersive, and it's so scary that I think that's what really makes them great horror novels, in my opinion, is that you don't know what's going to happen. It's not predictable. It's not like a normal thing where you're like, okay, this one's a vampire, and they're going to go out there and they're going to drink blood, and maybe the sun will come out and it'll sparkle, or, if it's not one of those kind of new age kind of vampires, then maybe they'll have a cape. I mean, it's not like that at all. It's exactly like a nightmare is. You can really tell when you read my novels that they come from nightmares because they feel like a nightmare. And one of the things that makes a nightmare so scary is you're not sure what's going to happen. I mean, one second you could be here doing this thing, and then the next second, boom, something completely different happens. And it just blindsides you and catches you completely off guard. And that's kind of the way my novels end up turning out, is they really catch you off guard. Right when you think you know what's happening and you know what's going on, it changes on you. And I don't mean like there isn't a narrative throughout the whole thing, because there's a good storyline and it follows a storyline. It doesn't jump around to completely random things. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you just never know where the story's going to go. You can't predict at the beginning where you're going to be at the end, because there's so many different turns all throughout the story. And in the end, it all makes sense and it all flows together, which to me is a miracle considering the way I write them, that I don't plan it out. It's a miracle to me that it does do that. But it never fails. It always does. At the end, everything matches up and makes sense and goes the way it was supposed to go. And it's just a really, really unique and really cool experience.
So in the Surrogate of Souls, the I Am Legion 2 that you're coming out with, is this a continuation that Darian and Heather will be in?
Yes, it takes place exactly after the first book stops.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I know I was seeing that a lot of people were excited to find out kind of like what was going to happen with them. So that's great.
And then book 3 will take place exactly where book 2 leaves off. Call of the Wind Spirits in between book 1 and book 2, because my original plan was I was going to write one of the Legion books, and then I would write a different kind of novel, and then I would come back to book 2 of Legion, and then I'd write something different, and then I'd come back to book 3 of Legion and then write something different. And then if there was a book 4, I would come back for that and then write. I was going to kind of stagger them that way. But the reason I decided that I was going to write this one now and then probably write the third book directly after this one is because the response to I Am Legion has been insane. I mean, it's been incredible. People love this book. And I get hundreds of messages a day of people that are dying to find out what happened. They want to read the next book. They keep messaging me, when is it coming out? When is it coming out? When is it coming out? And I put out, this will be my third novel this year that I put out. And my novels are, 400 plus pages. So I'm cranking them out as fast as I can. And I think I'm going to do the third novel of the Legion series directly after the second. to try to, give the readers what they want.
So what you're saying is you don't make books that are 20 pages and call them novels.
No, when you buy my novel, you're getting a novel. You're getting, 400 pages plus, and you're getting your money's worth.
Well, that's really good to know, right, Evan? Because we've had that happen.
Oh, my gosh. I constantly, and I admit it, I troll Amazon author pages for different reads and books and things. And, I'm seeing where a lot of authors are writing 20-page, what they're calling 20-page novels. And it's really sad. That's not a novel. That's somebody that took some notes from a couple pages, put it on there on a fancy cover and name, said, there's your book. Now I'm not talking about short stories. I'm not talking about short stories. Short stories are great, but I feel a short story is just that. It's a short story. It's not a novel. There are differences. But anyway, that's just a pet peeve that I have. When I bought a book, a couple months ago actually, and it was 19 pages. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought this was an actual novel. It sounded good. The story's great. The punchline was there. The cover's there. It was enticing. And, you get to page 19 and the story's done. I'm like, okay, that sort of thing. But so it's nice to see when you have an actual full-size novel and it's an actual book and, it's got some direction.
Now, I did put out one called The Cage, which is a short novella. And I don't know how many pages. I'm pretty sure it's way more than 20, but it's not a full-length novel. But that one is on sale. It's only 99 cents on Amazon. That's just kind of a, like a little novella that I put out for people that in between books that they could check out.
I was just going to actually ask you about that one because I was just reading a little bit about that. And is that based off of a dream sequence that you had as well, or is that just something that you let flow?
No, that was also a dream sequence, but I knew that wasn't going to be a full-length novel because it took place only over like a week. It was only a few dreams, so I knew that it wasn't going to be a novel-length thing. But I also knew that I was working on getting another novel out, and it was something I could do quickly and get out there for people that were clamoring for more. But it was never intended to be a full-length novel or anything like that. So I have it listed in there as a novella, and it's just a little. It's a good story and it's an interesting story, but because of the way I work, I don't write these things out and plan them out, so they are the length that they are. And some of my dreams are shorter, and some of them are longer. A lot of the shorter ones I don't put out unless I'm going to put them out as little short stories or novellas, and then they'll be listed as such when they go on Amazon. But see, my novels, like The Cage, is only available on Amazon for Kindle. My novels are available, in paperback, an audiobook, pretty much any bookstore in the world. If you can go in and order it, they have their IBM numbers and all that kind of stuff. They are also available on Amazon, and they are on Prime on Amazon, so you can get them only in a couple of days. So if you're going to buy the paper book, that's the way I would suggest to do it, is go ahead and just get it on Amazon because you get free shipping and it's there right away. But you can order it like Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, all those different things.
So The Cage is a good book for somebody that might not have the ability or find themselves wanting to read such longer novels. So that might be something that would be intriguing for those that don't have a lot of patience. Maybe they'll get hooked by being able to do that. But I had a quick question for you. A friend of mine actually just sent me an email, and they were wondering, I know the answer to this. I'm not sure if you went into detail during the show about this yet, but how do you know when one of the books is completed, meaning when your dream sequence is done and it's moved on to another? Since it's not very, since they come differently, like how do you know when one thing is completed and it's a totally new set of circumstances? Do you find that as you're writing it, or is there a better way I should ask that, Evan?
No,
it's kind of hard to explain the way that my friend just sent me this email asking it.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah. You still there, James? I think we lost James for a second here.
Might have had a little technical issue. I'm sure he'll call right back.
Let's find out. Give me a second, and we'll get him back here, and we'll get him back in queue.
Sure.
Give me a couple seconds here.
Want to play Edwin's promo real quick while we look into that real quick? Or?
Yep, let's get him back in queue, and we'll play a promo here for a second. You bet.
Sure.
All right, James, we lost you for a second there. Welcome back. I'm going to go to a brief show promo here, and then we'll get you back on with the question with Charity here, so stay tuned.
I'm author Edwin F. Becker. In 1971, there was a Chicago haunting so horrific that it was the first ever paranormal event televised by NBC, and a glimpse of a true exorcism. My book, True Haunting, tells the story. It is one that nearly destroyed my life and did destroy the lives of others. True Haunting is available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or you can visit me at EdwinBecker.com.
All right, we are back and live. We've got James Hershey that's back in the studio. Welcome back, James.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Charity, go ahead and ask James the question again there, since he probably had missed the question originally, and we will go from there.
Oh, sure. Somebody had just actually emailed me, and they were asking, I'm just trying to form it properly into a question, is how do you know when one dream sequence, so to speak, has ended? How do you know when it's completed? Since you have really no control over what's happening, in your nightmares. So, it's not like you can ask it before you go to bed.
I get a repeat, if that makes sense. I will have a dream that I already had before, and I'll recognize the dream when I'm dreaming it. I'll be like, I've seen this before. You get that deja vu sense. So once the dreams start repeating themselves, then I know that I have the whole story. Now, at that time, I don't really know what the story is completely, because they don't come in chronological order. They don't come the way they should come. Like, I might have something from the middle of the book first, and then something from the beginning, and then the ending, and then, a different section. And then I have to kind of place them and put them all where they're supposed to go to get the basic skeleton of the story. So once I start having repeats of my dreams and I see them again and again, then I know that I have the full storyline.
Oh, okay, that's great. I think that's what they were trying to ask, is how do you for yourself organize them, with the way that they come through to you. So that's really good. Definitely answered their question. I'm sure a lot of other people must have been wondering the same thing. And trying to, fortunately, I'm having a little technical difficulties. I was trying to see part 2 of that question, and it's not loading right now. But, we did say let's get our paranormal on, and I guess electricity and energy does have...
Sometimes you have to wonder. Sometimes you have to wonder. But that's, welcome to the daily grind of doing radio on the internet, or, even in an FM studio, whatever, because you just never know. There are technical glitches that happen all the time. It's common, and that's all right. We just move on, and like the pun and the paraphrase is, let's get the paranormal on. So
that's live for you, right?
That's right. That's what it is. And I've learned, I've had so many blooper reels and things that have happened from doing radio for a long time, off and on. It happened. But anyway, let's get back to you, Mike. I had a question that somebody had messaged me inbox, and they asked me to ask you if you have ever had paranormal experiences, or if you believe in the paranormal.
I do believe in the paranormal. I haven't had, like, I would call it, like, major paranormal experiences. I have the dreams, obviously. I've had situations where I think there might be something in the house, or you hear something kind of weird and you just don't really know. But like I said before, I'm no paranormal expert. I'm not a psychic. I'm not, claiming to channel this or channel that. All I am is a storyteller, and I'm just telling the truth as I know it, that these things come to me in my dreams, and I just kind of pass them along. But I know that if I saw, demons or ghosts or things like that in real life, I would just bail. I would just get out of there. I don't understand. I watch a lot of these kind of shows, and I just don't understand some of these people where they talk about, I got up in the morning and there was a waterfall of blood coming out of my sink, and get out was written on the wall and everything. And I thought, maybe I ought to call somebody. I'm like, call a moving company. Get the hell out of there. What are you thinking?
Yeah. That's what I always think. I'm like, what in the heck? How are you going to stay there?
Yeah. You have to wonder, when people say, hey, I've been living in my house for, 20 years and I've got this going on and I've got this going on. I'll be like, why are you still living there?
Exactly. Get the hell out. Unless you have a ghost that does your dishes and cleans your house and calls you beautiful every day, unless that's happening, what are you doing? Get out.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've never heard of any, ghosts that offer a maid services. I started a fun thing. It was called 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST, because if you're bored and lonely, you can call 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST, and we will provide for a small, a small nomination of some sort of funds. We will send you your own 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST, where you will be guaranteed to not be lonely, miserable, and you will have a fun-filled home atmosphere. That was 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST. And I poke fun at that, but if you got a ghost and it's doing, some disturbing things, if it's, moving silverware and inanimate objects around or whatever, you might want to just leave, I know I don't like I've always had a fear of things like that, especially at night. And, imagine. When you're asleep, you go to lay down, you're in your own private spot, it's dark, it's relaxing, you're alone or whatever. It's nothing worse to think that there's somebody else there with you that you can't do a damn thing about other than endorse whatever is happening. So that's a scary thought within itself.
And just the invasion of your personal space and your privacy, too. I mean, imagine, they say that ghosts are all around you and you just can't see them. Okay, I've heard that many times, that they're everywhere and you just don't know because you can't see them. Okay, so if that is the case, and I'm not saying it's not the case, I have no idea. But if that's the case, and they're all around us at all times, just imagine what they're seeing. I mean, every time you go to the bathroom, every time you get in the shower, every time you're in your kitchen singing, I'm Henry, the Eighth I Am, or whatever silly thing you do when you're all alone and you think nobody's there, imagine who's watching you. And if it's your relatives that are watching you, what's that conversation going to be like when you get to heaven? I mean, you go up there and you meet them, and they're like, hey, what is up? Why are you dancing around in your underwear like an idiot when nobody's in the house?
Oh, gosh, you just gave me some bad afterthoughts here. So here I am sitting in the house. I'm buck-ass naked, just got out of the shower, and I'm sitting on the couch getting dressed or whatever, and I got Joe Blow Friendly Ghost, that is, looking at me. Wow. Maybe I'll never undress
even worse,
again.
Grandma. Even worse, like Grandma sitting watching you eat Cheetos naked or something. And you got to hear that when you die.
Oh, no. Oh, that's not a good spot. Oh, no. Hopefully tonight when you go to sleep, you won't have a bad dream about that, or it might be in your next book.
Now watch. next time you're doing something like that, you're gonna catch yourself looking around going, oh man, I hope nobody's watching this.
Charity, you better not undress now. You better not sit there, or you're somebody might be looking at you, and then you'll have to explain.
Do my crazy dances when I'm alone.
Oh my gosh!
I wish they would work. I wish they would chip in and clean, or walk the dog. I don't know, do something.
Oh my gosh, I just can't picture it. I sing in the shower. Oh no! What if there's somebody that's thank God I don't have a rubber ducky I play with. I'd really have to explain that one if that was the case. Oh wow!
And that'll be the first thing. That'll be the first thing that they bring up when you get there too. They'd be like, "Oh, you're singing "Staying Alive" in the shower, are you, Evan?"
Oh man!
I can't help but think about that one time you had a guest on another show you did. Remember that? Talk about staying with ghosts instead of leaving. That said that he had just got out of the shower, and the ghost felt this cold thing on his groin or whatever, and then he just went back to bed.
Oh dear!
Oh come on!
Oh no! Oh no! Mike, James, I'm gonna have to tell you, if I felt some kind of a cold spirit or something play with my thingy badoogie, I don't think I'd talk about it on the air, would you?
No. And I think that happens a lot. Not that ghosts do that. What I'm saying is I think that a lot of people have experiences that they just never talk about with people because they don't want to be called crazy or liars or whatever it is. I think, and not just with ghosts, but with all kinds of different phenomena. I mean, you see all this stuff about UFOs, you see all this stuff about Bigfoot, you see just all kinds of crazy stuff out there. And I think a lot of that kind of stuff happens a lot more often than people realize, just nobody talks about it. Because they don't want people to go, oh, you're a liar.
But he took off, and he just wanted to sound, more strong and not fearful by saying he stayed. Because I could tell you there's certain things that if that occurred, I'd be out. Phew, there we go, I'm leaving.
Oh, absolutely, because what are you going to do? I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you're going to shoot a ghost. You can't shoot them, you can't stab them. I mean, unless you have Ghostbusters on speed dial, and they have, they can bring their proton packs or something. What are you really going to do about it?
Well, I do have one of those for my 10-year-old. He was Ghostbusters, but, last time I tried, it didn't work. It didn't help me. It was just, the blow-up thing, the little backpack. What do they call it? The Ghostbusters backpack. What was that called?
I don't know.
I forgot. It had a name.
What was that?
I don't know.
Was it a proton pack?
These bizarre beeping sounds throughout the show I'm trying to ignore.
That beeping sound is because it thought I was going to say a swear word. If I say a swear word, it'll go beep. Well, I wasn't going to say a swear word, but it said I was. That's an interesting concept.
We're a semi-family show here, people. No, I'm just kidding.
You would think so. Okay. Maybe some of the topics are a little strange. Maybe not. But yeah, that was definitely weird. Oh boy. Yeah. Charlie, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm still laughing about the ghost and the groin thing, and that I still have these vivid thoughts now about sleeping alone late at night, and hopefully I won't ever be visited.
I'll never forget that. The way that was explained. Oh. Anyway, but
you talk about some cold stimulation. Oh boy. Okay, we'll end it with that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting. It was an interesting topic. It was just a mannerism, James. I know that you and maybe some of the other listeners might not have heard that, but the way that it was explained was like somebody big tough guy. I just went back to lay down. I'm like, oh, okie doke. All right. Sure you did. Okay. Anyway. I just had somebody else inbox me about when you touched on, when Evan had asked you a little while ago about have you ever had any paranormal experiences in your waking state, because obviously we know in your dream state you sure have, which is bringing us some incredible books to read here. And they said that they didn't exactly understand you. Now, it could have been most likely it might have been their connection, but to clarify, you haven't had anything specific that occurred in your waking state?
No, not really. I mean, I don't talk to ghosts. I don't communicate with the dead or anything cool like that. There's always those things that you wonder about, that you have happen to you late at night sometimes, or you hear things or you see things, and you don't know if it's just because you were tired or if it's something you actually saw. I mean, I had one time when I was in high school that I was laying in my bed, and I hadn't even went to sleep yet. I had just turned the light off and laid down, so my head hadn't even really hit the pillow yet. And there was this glowing orb-like thing that came into the room, and it was like a neon green looking color. And I thought maybe it was just my brother messing with me, with some glow-in-the-dark thing.
Yeah.
So I jumped up, and went after it. And he was snoring in his bed, and everybody else in the house was asleep. And so there's, little things like that have happened. But as far as what they were, I have absolutely no idea. It could have just been, me being tired. I don't know. I've never seen a full form ghost in front of me or talk to anything like that, or seen anything that I would call definitive proof of anything.
What I find interesting is I've had some weird night terrors, or whatever you would call it, and when they've happened, or when I've woken up and I can't tell if it was just a dream or like what you kind of described. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Is the bed really moving? Is it my little dog? Where's my little dog? Because dogs and animals, as you know, they can move things and all that jazz. And I've noticed that I seem to have it when it does happen. I start jotting it down real quick. It's usually at the same times, which I found interesting. Have you ever noticed that when you've woken up, or not necessarily?
I've never really paid attention to the times, because I'm fortunate enough to where I don't have like a 9-to-5 gig that I do. So, I mean, I write and I sell my novels and I teach self-defense, and it's all kind of on staggered hours. So I don't have like a normal time that I get up every day or a normal time that I go to bed every day. So I haven't really noticed like a certain time that I have. I know that my dreams always come, in the middle of the night, because that's usually when I'm sleeping. Even if I stay up late writing, I'm usually in bed, 2-3 o'clock, unless it's one of those nights that I write all the way through into the next day.
Yeah, it's weird because I never noticed a correlation, and then with the way that my TV box is, it glows pretty bright at night. And last night was the second time in a couple weeks that, I don't know, my fiance was having like a nightmare or something. He doesn't remember. I woke him up, but I look over. I'm like, it's 3:10 in the morning. I jump up and I'm like, let me turn the light on. Let me. I'm like, what kind of dream were you having? You scared the heck out of me.
There's something about 3 o'clock. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when I'm still up and I'm writing, around that time period, around 3 o'clock, sometimes I get scared, and I don't know why. I have this feeling of dread that comes over me, and like I'm being watched, or like something's about to happen. That feeling of anticipation, you know what I mean? And it's just really unsettling. And there's something about that time, and I have no idea what it is about that time, but there's something about that time with me too that it just feels weird. It feels like there's something going on that I don't know about.
That's what I always found interesting.
Yeah, there's
I always
definitely
thought it was
something.
Midnight, Evan, and then I found out it's not.
No.
A lot of people say it's 3.
Well, I've heard a lot of different things and witnessed some things. I know that 3 a.m. has definitely been a key player in some things that I've investigated, paranormal wise. And then interviewing,
usually 3 with me, I've realized.
Yeah, and then interviewing people over the years, so many people that have also came forward about that time, and there's something about it. I know a lot of, if you believe in paranormal phenomena, does seem to be present around 3 a.m. Do the numbers mean something? Possibly. In the paranormal world, people believe that to be dead time. But again, what is dead time?
I don't know.
I have a problem with that, because
I thought it was midnight.
The things you do. Well, here's the problem that I have with setting the time per se for dead time, because aren't spirits really already dead? So why would they have a set time? Do you see what I'm saying? But
what I thought maybe is when whatever era you are in. This is just my thoughts. I don't know if I'm right or not, because, like I said, I just started noticing in the last year or so, it was always around 3 o'clock hour. If I get startled, once I had that cable box in there, I would notice, it was around the 3 o'clock hour. But I was always wondering if it could have some correlation with, because much more people are asleep. I don't know. In that area, I don't know.
Could very well be, but I know that some cases that I've checked into have happened around that time, and there's a theory behind it. And again, this is all theory when you're done with ghosts and that sort of thing, paranormal phenomena. But I think as James was talking about, he's right about that time frame, and no question about that. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's just a key. Maybe that'll come to James too. Maybe that'll come through a nightmare or a dream or something. And so I'm really going to be looking forward to continually, be involved in learning more about James, his dreams, and his writing. Maybe he holds the key right there to a lot of things, a lot of questions people have, and some mysteries actually. So, that's a really exciting thing, and that it's just different. I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and nobody that I've really talked to, used a lot, their work within the dream system that they have or whatever. So this is kind of fascinating to me, and I find it a really, really interesting concept. And again, it's really is what it is. It's a new paranormal concept as far as I'm concerned. And I've written some articles in our paper about, dreaming and lucid dreaming and things like that. And so it's just maybe I think it'd make a great article too in the Paranormal Herald that, and maybe we can get a story going, and maybe James would be willing to actually write a story for the Herald about this particular subject. Of course, that would be up to James, and that would be pretty cool to be able to print out too, so people could read that. But let's get back to James. We got about 15 minutes here, and we'll end this segment for the evening. It's been a great show. It's been fun. It's our first episode, under Paranormal Concepts. And again, for those that are maybe tuning in late, this is Paranormal Concepts Radio Network. I'm Evan Jensen. We have Charity Oswald here. That's our host. And we have author James Hershey, Jr. that is live with us as we speak right now. Back to you, James. I'm sure you have some things that you wanted to touch up on before we end this segment this evening.
Mainly what I would like to say right now is how amazing my readers are. I have a different kind of relationship with my readers than a lot of authors do, because I talk a lot to the people that buy my books and read my books. They message me on Facebook, and they message me on my website, and we communicate back and forth a lot. And I'm always really touched when I hear their stories about how much they've enjoyed my work, or what, one of my novels was meant to them, or, those kind of things. And for me, it's really a special thing to be able to communicate to these people, because they're spending their hard-earned money, and what your money really is your time, because that's how your time is compensated. And the idea that people are willing to spend some of their time not only reading my novel, but spend their money that they spent their time to earn to buy it, that means a lot. And I guess I'd just like to say to everybody who's bought my novels and all the people that have messaged me. I really love you guys, and your support means everything to me. It really helps a lot because what I do is not an easy thing. Not only because it's hard to write novels, or otherwise everybody would be doing it, but with my process and with the dreams that I deal with and with the things that I go through, and to get your support and to feel your love through messages and stuff like that really means a lot. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys and let you know that you mean a hell of a lot to me. I love you guys.
That's pretty cool. So if somebody is wanting to buy your books online, can you give a shout-out also where they can find your books on Amazon?
Just look up my name. That's all you really got to do. Just James Hershey Jr., type it into the search, and my books will come up. My first novel was I Am Legion. The second one is called The Wind Spirits, and The Surrogate of Souls will be out before the end of the year. So you can either type the title or just there. They're also available at Books A Million, at Barnes & Noble, and pretty much anywhere in the world that you want to buy books at any bookstore. They can order them if they don't already carry them. But the best and easiest way to do it is just to get it off Amazon because you're going to get it at a better price. And like I said, they're on Prime, so they can be to you in a couple of days. Very cool. Very good. All right, well, James, I want to say thank you, really, for coming on the show and, sharing with us today about your work. And you're a great guest, fine guy. Really appreciate you coming on the air and giving us your time on this Sunday evening. Charity, I want to say thank you for assisting us and helping us out in our first show back under a new name, new people, new direction, new Paranormal Concepts. It's really cool to be back. With that, I'm going to end the show, and we're going to go to an extra, and we will see you all back here the next show, and we'll announce that show pretty soon here. With that, I'm going to play an extra and say goodnight.
I think we're having some technical issues.
You are about to enter the world of Paranormal Concepts on the Paranormal Concepts Radio Network with your award-winning host, Evan Jensen, and his co-host, baby, it's Charity Oswald. Sit back, enjoy. Let's get our paranormal on.